Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?
I'm Egbert, the owner of this station. Check out my website at egbert.com. That's E-G-G-B-U-R-T, egbert.com. Now it's back to Brad and John. Check out their website at bjshow.co. The BJ Show? Come on, guys. Anyway, here's B and J.
I still don't understand what he has a problem with our show. I mean, he's got his website, Egbert. Come on, who would name your kid Egbert? What's wrong with BJ's show? I don't understand it.
Well, they probably looked through a baby book name, and it's, among those modern names, Brad, it's one of the most popular ones there is.
Have you, social media is so interesting. Have you seen this, or it's actually a video, but you can listen to the audio, of the lady in Colorado? I don't know what it is with Colorado and cake bakers. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I do not know what you're talking about.
Okay.
What kind of cake is it, Brad?
Well, there's a lady in Colorado, and she, hold on a minute. My stupid COVID cough. I still can't get rid of. Okay, her name is Cassie Tingley. And
Brad, what kind of a cake is this?
She owns a bakery called Love and Flour. It's a cake shop in Fountain, Colorado. Okay, a couple weeks ago, a woman calls her like at 8 o'clock at night and demands, not asks her, demands that she make a cake for her that's going to serve 120 people. So we're not talking about little tiny cake that, you'd take to the office.
This is a substantial
right.
cake. Boy, I like a big old cake. You know what I'm saying, Brad?
So the call gets sort of funky to begin with. So Cassie records the call. She's got the audio of her and this lady who calls up and the lady starts out by saying, I need a cake for 120 people for tomorrow. Once again.
Yeah, that should be easy. That's just a rush order.
And she says, I need to have this done. It needs to be taken care of. So, according to the story, the video, which Tingley began recording after the conversation turned hostile and has been viewed over 15 million times, continues as Tingley calmly tells the call that she's unable to deliver a custom cake within a 12-hour time frame. The lady called at 8 o'clock at night. She wants the cake at 8 o'clock the next morning. Okay, so I'm going like, okay, so what does she think? You like this is an episode of Bewitched, and Samantha's gonna twinkle her nose and bonk, a cake's gonna appear? No, It doesn't. And she says, and she says it's not gonna happen with me, but there are other bakers around the city that can help you, maybe. Anyway, the call just goes on and on and on, and it reminds me of every once in a while. And I know this has probably happened to you. You're in a store or something like that with someone who's just a PETA. And you know what PETA stands for?
Yeah.
Okay. And they just won't shut up. You know what I mean? They just keep complaining, blah, 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 blah. I told you about one of my former employees who, that's all she did. All she did was complain. I mean, on Monday morning, the ritual was we used to laugh about it. On Monday morning, her and her girlfriends used to go out, eat on Friday night, eat on Saturday night. And then on Monday morning, we heard the recap of, well, when we went to so-and-so, the ice cubes were substandard size. They should have been at least 3.5 centimeters in diameter. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. So hold on one second. Was the Colorado call real?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, so it wasn't like – so, excuse me, anytime I see something like this, my default is everything is fake and everything is generated for views. But if it's true, it's probably – you're dealing with somebody who's either mentally ill or just socially – we can't use this word anymore, Brad, so let's use it – just socially retarded. Like someone – and I mean that in a literal sense where they haven't developed like social or people skills to know that you just don't behave like that. Well, again, I haven't heard the call. But if it's real, it's somebody who has a really serious problem fitting into mainstream society, wouldn't you say?
Well, there's another video that's been very popular in the last couple of weeks of a woman who's in a Walmart. Why does this always happen in Walmart? And she's in one of the little scooters, little.
Oh, really? I thought we weren't supposed to talk about those, Brad. I thought we weren't supposed to make fun of obesity scooters, Brad.
You call it an obesity scooter, but okay, John John does not.
Okay, so she's in something that you and I as taxpayers funded. Go ahead.
She's in her scooter, and apparently she's causing problems in the store because you don't know what happened before this, but apparently the police have been called, and the police officer comes over to her and essentially says, and apparently, I don't know if you've ever heard this term before, but I've seen it a lot in these videos where the police officer comes up to someone in a store who's causing problems or they think might be a shoplifter, and they say to the person, the owner of the store has trespassed you. Have you ever heard that?
Yes, and I had to look that up, Brad, because I thought trespass was I thought it was a verb that like just belongs on a warning sign, but yeah, to be trespassed.
Right. So they essentially the police officers say you've been trespassed, which essentially means it's private property. The owner of the store says we don't want you in here. Right.
Yeah.
So the lady starts, and she's in her little scooter, and she starts verbally sparring with the police officer, and he essentially says, "Ma'am, you're going to have to leave." And it turns into the point where she starts ripping everything off the shelves in the store. She's just throwing junk everywhere. And finally he says, "Ma'am, if you do not comply, I'm going to have to put you in cuffs." And he warns her the whole bit. So as he bends over, she whacks him in the face and knocks off his glasses. Well, then it turns into WrestleMania where she's and I didn't add the fact that she is a black woman, and he finally gets her down on the ground and is trying to put the handcuffs on her, and she starts yelling, they're doing this because I'm black. They're doing this because I'm
right.
I'm going,
yeah.
Okay, whatever.
Well, boy, there's shocking things at every turn, Brad. I can't believe someone with the sense of entitlement would swing at a police officer.
You know, there are certain things you don't do. On the low end of the police officer interaction scale, like what I've said when I used to work for the police department, the thing you never want to say to a police officer when he pulls you over is, "Do you know who I am?" Because the implications of that are like, "How dare you pull me over? I can drive."
Now, what I do like, though, Brad, is that, sorry to interrupt, but what I do like is that when the woman fell out and then after she was beaten, she asked for Hazelwood Mayor Matt Robinson to resign. And he's yet to resign. He actually won re-election, which is debilitating. But
well,
what can you do? And then she went to the border and she had some garden supplies too. She had some garden fencing and such. I know she's your favorite candidate for Secretary of State, Brad. By the way, brief aside here. I hate to bring this back to Missouri so quickly, but the Kansas City Star has a profile today of your favorite race, Brad, and that is the Secretary of State's race. So they do an overview. They quote the great Gene Evans. They quote Greg Keller, and they talk about Valentina Gomez. And Valentina Gomez's comment to the Kansas City Star was that she received no criticism from her. You know how she did the thing where she burned the books, you know?
Yeah.
With a flamethrower. She said she received no criticism, which I thought was funny. And the reporters, who are obviously very liberal, were like, she falsely claimed that she received no criticism for her blowtorch video.
Well, you know, Camellia sent me a video of her speaking at a candidate forum, I guess it was. Did you get that same video from Camellia?
I've seen it, yeah. I saw either Camellia or someone else posted it. Yeah, I saw that.
And you know what? I mean, do you have contact with her?
Valentina Gomez?
Yeah.
No, I don't know her.
Could you put out a feeler to her and see if she'd come on the show?
No, because if we do that, then we're gonna clog up 7 other segments with candidates flapping their gums about why they want to be Secretary of State, and I'm not gonna put our show through that. Well, those would be good segments for Westplex 107.1.
Well,
or maybe a different show.
Only 6.
Because only 6 other ones? Oh, no, your imaginary beef with Mike Carter doesn't exist. And maybe, I would be willing to have a conversation with him because it'll be another imaginary beef that exists only in your head that we could squash. But we're not going to have 8 Secretary of State's candidates come on and flap their gums. If you want to know what they're about, go to social media and find out.
Well, no, here's the interesting thing, John. All we have to do is just say, see, here's how you get what John's referring to. We have these rules we have to go under, which are the FCC, what they call the equal opportunity rules. And if we give one candidate 10 minutes, we have to give the other candidates 10 minutes. And we have to give them equal access. In other words, if we give the candidates at 7:30 in the morning, we can't give the other candidates 2:30 in the morning. We have to give them 7:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So All we have to do is just say, if we just say we have Valentina on, and we just contact all the other candidates, and I guarantee you none of them will come on because they're going like, well, the Egbert station? What the hell's that? It's not 97.1.
And I don't remember because I have a faulty memory. What happened the last time that you played Low Self-Esteem Theater about candidates coming on the station? I don't remember what happened.
You contacted them and they all called me. But
wait, hold on. My headphones are cutting out. So are you saying that you said on a Friday that no candidates would come on a station where I am on? No. And you said nobody would come on. And then in the next 3 days, we had 3 candidates, right?
You as in John Combest is I, or me as in Brad Hildebrand is I.
John Combest.
No. I never said they wouldn't come on with you. I just said they wouldn't come on station.
But I'm on the station for an hour a day, right?
No, I understand. But here's a perfect example, okay? I'm going to call somebody out, and once again, I'm not going to call somebody out in a negative way. It's just sort of frustrating to me. And here's a perfect example, okay? Yesterday, I see this, and let me see if I can find it real quick here. Yesterday, I see a Facebook page on from Tony Frisella Jr. Okay, I know Tony Frisella Jr. I know his father. I know his mother. They're North County people, originally North County people.
From Frisella Nursery?
Exactly, Frisella Nursery.
Okay.
You remember where they were up there in Lindbergh, okay? Then they moved out. I can't remember where they moved. They moved somewhere else. Now they're out in Defiance, okay? So Tony Frisella ran for... matter of fact, he ran against Mike Elam, and the interesting thing was he almost beat Mike Elam. Mike Elam thought, Tony Frisella Jr., he's no problem. I think Mike Elam won re-election to his county council position like by a couple hundred votes. It was very, very sort of shocking. But so I contact Tony, and Tony's a good guy. He's always talking about doing business with local people. So I meet him at a candidate forum. I give him my information on the station. I said, Tony, I got all these listeners in St. Charles County. Obviously that's where you're trying to get, on the county. And long story made short, did Tony buy any advertising on my station? No, he did not. He bought advertising time on 97.1. Once again, no problem. He's buying radio, but once again, it's an out-of-state company. When you pay money to most of the radio stations in town, very few of them are locally located. The money goes somewhere else. With Odyssey, it goes to Pennsylvania. With iHeart, like on the Bull, it goes to New York. When you buy advertising on the Arch or WIL, it goes to Minneapolis. Okay, doesn't stay locally here. So yesterday, on Tony Frisella's Facebook page, he's got, in a world where private equity firms and corporations are taking over more and more of every industry, including ours, we're proud to be family-owned and operated 71 years and growing. Our entire team cannot be more grateful for all the support over the years. Thank you for spreading the word. He posts a post on that from a site called What's Up Washmo. And the lady starts out by saying, since we're losing a good amount of our locally owned businesses, I found a new, to me, local nursery. It's off the beaten path, but well worth the drive. They have everything plant-wise and much more than in town. The pricing is absolutely comparable in the greenhouse. Big differences, I noticed the gift area is almost all local vendors. The entire property is gorgeous. It feels like walking through a private garden. All the staff are interacted with very kind, helpful, and noticeable, knowledgeable, blah, 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 blah. Okay, and that is true. If you've ever been to Frisella's nursery out there on, I think it's on Highway F, between Defiance and New Melle. Right. It's really a cool place. Okay? So I text Tony. I said, hey, Tony, this is great, but keep in mind when you buy radio, buy it with a local company like mine. And did he respond? Yeah. No. So, in other words, if you're going to live by the sword, die by the sword. Get what I'm saying?
I do.
And what they're referring to is the Hillerman Nursery, which used to be a client on this radio station for 24 years, since the time I bought the station until just recently when the Hoffmans bought Hillerman Nursery in Florist, locally owned. Now, I know for a fact that the business, and I'm not stating this as, vindictive or anything like that, it's just a fact. Everybody knows this in Washington, that there are a lot of people that went to the Hillerman's Nursery and bought stuff for years, bought lawnmowers, had landscaping, bought plants, bought flowers, bought all sorts of stuff, landscape supplies, things like that at Hillerman, because A, it was a great place to go, and B, it was locally owned. Well, A, it's still a great place to go. But B, it's not locally owned anymore. So people don't go there as much. And business is off. So once again, people have decided that, you speak with your dollars, right? You speak with your money.
Yeah.
And if you're not going to, but see, what's frustrating about that is it doesn't cut all ways. Because that's what's frustrating to me, because me, who owns local radio stations, when I hear people, we want to do all our business locally. There's another company, which shall remain nameless, that runs these ads saying, we're a local company. First off, they're not. They're not a local company. They're headquartered out of another state. And secondly, they talk about, we do business with local people. No, they don't. And it's frustrating to me because of the fact that you can say anything. That's like we could say, hey, this is the Brad and John show. We love platypus, duck-billed platypus, and we're doing everything we can to sustain the duck-billed platypus population. Okay? And somebody would call them and go, what are you guys doing to duck-billed platypus? Well, actually nothing, but we just thought it sounded good. Because people are animal lovers, right?
Well, I feel like this should be condensed into 3 minutes, Brad, and presented at the next St. Charles County Council meeting. Or you should stand on a street corner and yell about it.
I got good response at the St. Charles County Council meeting. Matter of fact,
I do. I know it from you. I mean, my source is you, but I heard that you got a good response. And even Steve Ellman, according to you, made a crack about Tashara Jones.
Well, he did, because of the fact, matter of fact, he called after I made my little presentation. The county executive gives his, and he referred to this because we talked about this the other day, that this hadn't been in the news yet. Well, in other words, they hadn't had a county council meeting since this happened. And he referred to the chief of police of St. Charles County as the poacher-in-chief, because one of the things that Tashara Jones accused Steve Ellman of poaching her police officers, which was interesting. And what he said, which is pretty interesting, he says, look, we don't do any recruitment in the St. Louis area at all. And he says, you may wonder why that is. He says, everybody knows about us. If they want to work for us, we don't have to recruit it. Now, he did say, which is interesting, he says they have active recruitment on University of Illinois, Champaign-Urbana. I think he said SIU Carbondale. I think he also said Southwest Missouri State, which is now Missouri State. And he says they also do recruitment in Columbia at University of Missouri. So they're recruiting at colleges. They're looking for college graduates who are coming out of the colleges, I guess, with a law enforcement degree or whatever. I don't know what that degree would be. Was that a law enforcement degree or civic justice?
I think now it's called social work, Brad. I think it's called social work and babysitting. And how to trespass an angry black woman at Walmart and go viral.
Man, I tell you.
De-escalation, Brad.
Okay, here. Next we come back, I will tell you this story that I thought to myself, I thought for sure it was fake, and it turned out to be a true story. Okay, you ready for this one? And
I am. It's Brad Hildebrand ranting about lack of advertising on the street corner. It's like, hey, at least it doesn't include a Tracy Ellis reference this time. And by the way, maybe you should have sent Frisella 2 mailers that he could send in the trash, Brad.
Man, John's really beating up on poor old Brad. And by the way, ask Camelia about her interaction with Real Talk 93.3. Do you know about this story?
I don't know. No. Maybe she can file for Secretary of State, and we can have 8 of her other friends on to flap their gums.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's Combest, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?